Bonjour! Mia and I are gearing up for an adventure to Paris, France. In my suitcase, only the essentials: clothes, passport, toothbrush, and toiletries. Mia's, however, well, Mia, the beret and silk scarf makes sense, but a whole picnic basket? And is that a picture of Chewbacca? Okay, I get it. These are your special items that could add more color and fun to our trip. You know, these extra items remind me of the additional details we put in our writing. When we add details to our sentences, it's like packing those extra items that make a story richer and more vivid. We should find a balance in our packing and our writing, making sure we have the essentials, but also adding those special touches that make everything more memorable. Let's dive into today's lesson to learn more. Before we begin, make sure you have today's PDF ready to take some notes. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to use commas and parentheses to add non-restrictive details and explain the purpose of non-restrictive details in sentences. Let's get into it. So, let's start with something that sentences already have: restrictive details. Restrictive details are essential pieces of information in a sentence that, if removed, would change the sentence's core meaning. Take this sentence, for example. I love croissants that are filled with jam. If I take away the phrase, that are filled with jam, then the sentence becomes, I love croissants. The phrase that are filled with jam is restrictive because taking it away changes the core meaning of the sentence, from loving jam-filled croissants to just regular croissants. The phrase restricts or limits the meaning of the sentence. However, I can improve the original sentence by adding in a non-restrictive detail. So what exactly are these non-restrictive details? They're like the extra items in Mia's suitcase, adding flair without being essential. In writing, they're extra bits of information we can add to a sentence that aren't crucial to its meaning. Generally, you add this information along with commas or parentheses, and the details tend to start with which or who. Think of Mia's silk scarf. Stylish, but not a must-have. Non-restrictive details are similar. They're not essential to the sentence's main point, but they add flair. Let's look at our sentence from before and sprinkle in a non-restrictive detail. Something like, I love croissants that are filled with jam, especially when they're fresh from the oven. Adding in that phrase, especially when they're fresh from the oven, gives us a better picture of these croissants without changing the core meaning of the sentence. Notice how the detail we added in is offset by a comma. Punctuation is key when working with non-restrictive details. We primarily use commas and parentheses. Commas are the most common way to offset non-restrictive details. You add commas when the information you're writing flows with your sentence. Think of them like a short breath or a tiny pause in a chat. So if your sentence feels smooth with this little pause, use commas. To demonstrate, Mia, who is always prepared, is packing for their trip. The detail, who is always prepared, flows smoothly with the main idea. Commas make this detail read naturally and seamlessly. What's more is that using commas gives a sense of equal emphasis to both the main sentence and the non-restrictive detail. If the extra information feels like a quick side note or a whisper when read aloud, parentheses are a good choice. Use parentheses to add things like dates, numerical information, or asides, which are basically the literary equivalent of a side conversation you might have with a friend. Let's look at a few examples. The French Revolution, 1789 to 1799, brought about significant political changes in France. This is working as a parenthetical, non-restrictive detail because it's adding a range of dates for the French Revolution. Reading it out loud doesn't really flow naturally, so parentheses work best here. It's showing that it's additional information for the topic, but not a part of the main idea of the sentence. Another example would be jam-filled croissants, a personal favorite of mine, are a staple in French bakeries. This is working as an aside because it provides a personal commentary that isn't essential to understanding the main idea of the sentence. Parentheses show readers that the information inside is an extra thought or a side note from the main topic. Take a look at the following sentence. Should we use commas or parentheses to punctuate the non-restrictive detail? Ratatouille, a dish I first tried in Paris, is a traditional French vegetable stew. What do you think? Does the detail need equal emphasis as the main idea? Or is it functioning as a personal aside? Does the detail need commas or parentheses? If you said parentheses, then you're correct. The detail, a dish I first tried in Paris, is a personal aside. Including it isn't necessary to understanding the core meaning of the sentence. Nice work. So why add these details? Well, they're like Mia's scarf and beret. They're not necessary, but they sure do enhance the experience. Non-restrictive details give readers a clearer image or a deeper understanding. It makes your writing better. It's time for some practice. In your PDF, take a look at the following sentence. The Eiffel Tower stands tall in Paris. Then, sprinkle in a non-restrictive detail using commas. Remember, non-restrictive details are those delightful extras that aren't necessary for the main idea of the sentence, but make it richer. Think of them as these special trinkets in Mia's suitcase. Go ahead and add in your details now. What did you add? Here's how I might add a non-restrictive detail. The Eiffel Tower, which lights up beautifully at night, stands tall in Paris. See how that extra detail about the tower lighting up at night gives the sentence more flavor? Great job. Today, we explored how non-restrictive details, like Mia's special items for Paris, enrich our writing. They're the exciting extras that bring our sentences to life. As we wrap up and Mia and I get ready for the trip, remember to pack your writing with these delightful details. Don't forget to include the commas or the parentheses. Happy writing and au revoir!
Hey, hey.